Hi guys, welcome to this new episode. I am Ivan Mader and you are on the Act Club podcast. And today we have a really good guest. Again, we have a publisher, a public speaker, and she will change your vision as an artist and as creators. I want you to welcome Cornelia Victoria. Hi Victoria, Cornelia, sorry.
Hi, it's so good to see you. I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah. How is the weather in Los Angeles?
It's beautiful. It has been cold during the night because it's still winter time, right? But during the day, it's beautiful. The sun is out. The skies are super clear and blue. So it is beauty, pure beauty.
Perfect. So to begin our interview, I want you to present yourself a little bit. So who is Cornelia Victoria and what is your story?
I have a pretty wide story, which always took me back into the power of creation. Because what happened is I don't have like the typical resume as you would think, but I always did something and it explored it like into the depth, and then I started something new. Meaning, like, for example, I've been a PR person, I've been a consultant, I've also been on many stages, I've done many things, but there was always this point when I had a calling which said like, do something else, do something more. There's something else calling you. So this has been my story. In the end, I could never ignore this calling. Like, however hard I tried sometimes, you know how it is, right? Things are like,
Sure.
feel comfortable and secure. So you're like, oh, do I really want to do this? But I always had to do it. Like this inner voice has always been so strong inside of me that sometimes I just let everything go. Like, for example, right now, I let everything go in Germany, where I had like a house and was staying for like several years because it called me to go to LA. And then sometimes it's scary, but at the same time, it's exciting. So this is like my story. I've always followed my dreams and this inner calling, and I've always been rewarded for it in the most beautiful ways.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. That's a great story. And to be more in details, so yeah, what's your approach to the art? So when did you begin to see yourself maybe as an artist or as an helper of artists or as a creator? So what's your story regarding that?
So, well, I started with writing myself when I was like in my teenage years. And I had people telling me that was so great what I wrote and it needed to get out in public. But what I did is exactly the opposite. I was like, no, I'm not going to go out with it, So I had this cycle myself where I was like holding back my art for a while because I don't know what, but there was kind of like I was being afraid of it. So and years later, it called me to write a book. So I went into writing again. That's how it started for me because I love words and the beauty of words when you put them together. So I started writing my first book and then was like, do I really want to publish with a publisher? Because I've been like consulting people who have been publishing with like common publishing houses. And I've seen the beauty of their work before they went to the publishing houses. And then after, when somebody told them like, oh, you got to change this, or you got to go more like into the more general wording or whatever. So they changed it so much that sometimes I was so sad seeing the result because it wasn't at all like the beauty they had created before. So,
Sure.
and then it called me to do my own publishing house, meaning like, okay, I'm going to publish with myself so I can keep the beauty in what I did, right? And before I even got to publish my own book, I got people coming towards me asking me, can you support me writing or getting my book out? And can you just keep it in the beauty or maybe even make it a little more beautiful? Meaning like the design or meaning like a little in the wording, but not changing the creative expression themselves, right? So, and that's how I got to be a publisher suddenly because I got all those people coming in. And
Great.
then, yeah, it was really great. Plus, sometimes it's bigger than writing a book, right? I have people who say like, I want to build something, I want to create something, I want to do something, but I don't dare to, or something's holding me back. And that's where I come in. So people come towards me always when they want to explore something new.
Yeah. So your publishing company is called Colibri, right?
Right.
Why? Why colibri?
Uh, because, well, one thing is I'm really always inspired by nature. Meaning, like, I get these inspirations, and it just said, call it colibri, which is a hummingbird in English,
Yeah.
right? So, and what I found out, but later, is colibris kind of behave like bees. So they take like the pollen of the plants and they spread it into the world so
Oh.
that other plants can grow again. But I only found out later, and I was wondering, like, why do I get this name? I don't really know why, you know? But then I knew because that was exactly what I wanted to do, you know? I wanted to help them spread their message. Hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty poetic. Like, yeah, you have to help share the art in like the pollen.
Yeah, yeah, right. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
something else can, because when the pollen gets into the other plants, they can grow too, right? So this is like shared
Sure.
inspiration also. Hmm.
Yeah. So, from the publishing company, you switched to more helping artists, and so what's the story here in the changing of ways?
I believe it's just a natural evolution. You know, like everything in life evolves, right? So when the people came to me publishing their books, of course, next step was like, I want to get it to the people. And next step was, I want to get on stage. I want to learn how to speak. Next step was like, from the stage, I want to get into the media, whatever, you know, like there's always a next step. So it was like kind of a natural evolution that I went with
Mm.
them. So I still have people who do their books with me, but it never stops with doing the book, but it always goes further.
Yeah,
And that
sure.
is, by the way, where the Strasberg message comes in, right? Because, and that was so funny because I was, and that's how life works in itself, I believe. So one of my authors, she was in Mallorca and she invited me because I had supported her so much. She
Mm-hmm.
invited me to come to a Strasberg workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And I just came without knowing anything about acting because I was not from the area, right? But then I
Yeah.
was in, I was like, this is so much truth and this is so inspiring what they are doing, you know? So this is kind of how I got connected to the acting world and then to the method and to everything that comes with it.
Yeah, so from the books and the authors to the actors, and we are one big community as artists,
Hmm.
as like my podcast say, the artists can thrive. And I was thinking that yeah, we should have a conversation together because we just have to help artists be themselves and
Yeah.
to thrive and to be happy in their head. So,
Hmm.
what's your take on that? And what is for you the power of creation? That's your motto.
Yes.
So what is it? Can you explain to us?
Yeah, for me, it's really a really natural concept because I believe when we all break it down and when we let everything go, which we learned, it's like our true nature, right? Our true selves we are. And this self wants to express itself, that there's so many things holding us back. So what I found out with myself, honestly, like the method I created, I just found it out by looking back at my life and the cycles I did. And I found out that I always went the same cycle, meaning like first I had to connect myself with me, you know, and with everything around me. So that I was able to get the inspiration in, you know, and really be open to the true inspiration, you know, not what my head was saying, but what really wanted to be created by me. And then I went into this creation mode, you know, I was like, okay, now I know what I got to do. And then I always noticed that creation is alive too, right? So it gets bigger when you do the steps. So sometimes you just get the inspiration of the first step. And this might be like, go there or talk to this person or write a book or whatever it might be, right? And then you start doing it and then it starts evolving from there and it starts going bigger and being alive and changing. So you go into this creation process of like, and you're curious, you find out like, what does it want to be? You're
Yeah,
exploring the unknown,
exactly.
right? So this is what I do with the people. I go into the unknown because sometimes it's scary. And it's always good to have somebody at your side who's like, okay, I've done that several times, plus who's open to explore together and to be curious about what it might be. And then in the end, we always close the circle by celebrating, because I believe the state of celebration is also really, really important, because it's so natural too, right? Sometimes we forget we achieve something and we do it and we're super courageous and then we just keep going, right? So we step like back for a minute and celebrate together. So mine is like, like to connect first, then to create, and then to celebrate. And this is like the cycle of creation and the power of creation, how I have
Wow.
experienced it.
Wow, that's very touching, and that's great. So to connect with themselves, you'd have to be free of all the blockage and all the mentality that's blocking
Mm-hmm.
you. So how can you free yourself from this mental prison?
Yeah. Well, for me, nature always helps. That's why creation for me is something bigger too. The power of creation is also nature and everything that has been created around us. So, really going out and looking and experiencing what's around you. Like this could be like a beach if that's your favorite place, the woods, a river, whatever it is, and really connect with it. Really see like, wow, this is alive first, right? This is always moving. There's no blockage, right? It's moving.
Hmm.
There's, you know, for example, I do that like when I really get stuck sometimes, I go to the ocean and then I walk at the ocean. So I move my body, which is important too, not being like standing still, but moving yourself. And then at the same time, looking at the waves, getting all the senses in, looking at them, smelling the air, listening to what's coming in. So it's all the different senses to activate them. And that helps because then you get present, like in your body and everything that's you, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes we tend to just focus on one sense, which might be like looking, for example,
yeah,
and then
sure.
we forget to smell. But when we smell, it activates new things, right? And it gets us into the body. And that's what I would say. Plus, also, I really found that the method from David Strasberg really, like,
Yeah.
or from the Strasberg Institute, really is an important piece in the puzzle, too, because what I'm doing is like you can do it yourself and you just go out and activate all your senses. Plus, they do with the relaxation, how you go like actively into the blockages to let it go. For me, this was kind of a revelation because I was like, yeah, this is an important thing too, which I hadn't thought about. And maybe I can do it like that when I'm out. But some people might also want to go there and do it actively and then let it flow. So
Oh,
everybody, I
yeah.
believe, has to find their own way of getting there.
Yeah, but you're so right, because yeah, I mean, I use method acting also with the Strasberg and everything, but I just noticed that I was using it also in my own life, like in my
Hmm.
everyday life. And when I start being in my own head and with my own thought, and like, yeah, but why, and in the future I will do that, and with the
Hmm.
past I did that, but why I did that. But just be present in the moment, and
Hmm.
just, okay, what am I seeing, what I'm hearing, what I
Yeah.
am tasting, what I am smelling. It just puts you back on the present moment,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
just breathe. And the relaxation
Right.
is everything. It's very
Hmm.
important in the everyday life. And yeah, you're so right. So once you remove this tension with the
Hmm.
relaxation, you can create, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the second part for you.
Hmm. It is.
So what's your point of view on the creation? How do you help create with the artist?
So what I found is like, as I said, most we just get one thing, one step, you know? but we have this inner feeling of this is gonna be big. I can't really see why I'm supposed to do this, right? Sometimes we're even like, what the heck? I don't know. Like, why am I supposed to do this now? But when we start following it, we can explore where it wants to take us, right? And this is mostly the next level, meaning like exploring something new, getting more talent out, being more creative than you've ever thought you'd be. And probably even like it takes you to creating what you were originally supposed to create. But I know that sometimes it's scary, or we get into our heads, or we fall back into not being totally connected because we're getting nervous. And then we're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? So this is where I come in, because it's like a threshold for me. We have to cross, right? To get into the unknown and into this land of creation, which is so much bigger than ourselves. And then we, like everybody says that, right? Get out of the way when you really want to create something big. But hey, that's not so easy, right? Because you're sitting there or standing and you're like, oh my gosh, and sitting in front of the computer or on stage or wherever. And you're like, but how am I going to do this? So, and when you have somebody at your side, and this would be me in this case, who believes in you, who sees all your potential, who can see the creation, because I kind of can connect to the ideas, to the creation that wants to be done. So I can get down to earth, let's say, or put it into words, what those people originally want to do. And when they hear it, they can connect to it again, right? They see like somebody's seeing it and it's doable. And I'm able to make that true, right? And this is what I do, because I kind of like, for example, you have somebody who wants to write a book, and then they tell me about the book. And I see like they tell me this little part of it, right? But I can see all of the beyond too, because I can see, oh, this is going to be so much more beautiful and so much deeper and so much more creative than this person thinks at this moment. Because the brain, right, it can only like go back to like past experiences or to a certain level of imagination, but there's so much more. So, and while I see that, I can like take him over the threshold, let's say, and say, you're not alone. We do this together.
Yeah.
And give them the inspiration they need to take the next steps.
Step by step. Yeah, I was about to say that. Step by step. And
Exactly.
the amazing thing is that the more you create, the more you create. Like, I just noticed that, I wanted to do a small thing, but it made me want to do another thing. And then it just a whirlwind to do another thing and another thing. And the more you do, the more you're happy and the more you be, yourself. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's the flow everybody wants to be in, But we have to be conscious about that we're still human beings. So there might be things coming up, right? Which ourselves, we try to hold ourselves back because we're afraid of what's gonna be, And sometimes, as I have seen it also in many artists, they sometimes even afraid of their own greatness. Because they're like, I could do this now, but imagine I would be, because like people say so often, like, what's when you fail, you just get up and do it again, And I found many people are not so afraid of failing, at least not the ones I'm working with, but more of their true greatness, because that would have implications for their lives, right? Maybe some people wouldn't keep up with them. Maybe they would lose something they cherish. Maybe they would become super famous and be afraid of, like people wanting something from them all the time. So whatever it might be, right? So that's why sometimes we keep holding ourselves back too, instead of embracing that and saying like, yeah, this is life, right? And this is the power of creation. That's what we do.
Oh, you just put a needle in that point to like everyone is afraid of failure, but nobody wants to accept they're afraid of success.
Yeah.
And I was afraid of success at one point in my life when I was, but if I succeed, I will be seen. So if I fail after, everyone will see it. It's like if you fall in your own house and nobody sees you, that's okay. But if you fall in front of an audience, That's big.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you just put a needle in that. Yeah, the fear of success is a big one for me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for me too, otherwise I wouldn't know this, right? Because
Sure.
I've seen myself also like going into this mode of, because I know I can create really big. I have the powers to do so, like as everybody does, right? So, and then I get all in and then I create, and suddenly it's so big that I get afraid too. I'm like, how am I supposed to hold this? How am I supposed to keep this up? This might be like similar to your what if I fail in public? But also this would be like, what if I fail for myself? If I cannot take this creation where it's supposed to be, if I cannot keep it alive, what's going to happen? So I saw myself too, to be honest, in my life to take a step back and sometimes even letting my creations go
Yeah, because
because
it's
I was
bigger
so
than
afraid.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And the next step, so it's to celebrate, right? Each
Right.
step, each step of the way, right? It's
Yeah.
celebrate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we really, I don't know about you, but I've been like, I learned to keep going and to, like be a high achiever, which I always was. So, but that was so normal for me that looking back, for example, I remember I had like, we were 1,000 students at the university I was at, and I had the second best master thesis, second best from 1,000 people. But
Wow.
in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm only second best. I'm not the best. So what happened is like I didn't appreciate myself at all for that because I was only second. So this was how I was brought up or how my mind worked, right? So and then looking back, I was like, but why didn't I celebrate? Why wasn't I like happy about being that high, like with my achievements? And then I said, yeah, but it's much more than that. It's this like appreciating oneself for every little step we take and to really like pause for a minute, get into it and say like, thank you myself that I did it. Then also, wow, you were so courageous. You were so creative. You were like really see what you've achieved. And while you're doing that, something happens inside of you, right? You grow and you get into this other state of, I can do this. And when you're in this inner state of, I can do this, it takes you to the next level, meaning the next
Yeah.
step probably will show up. Plus, also, that's now it comes back to the colibri, to the hummingbird. I always said, like, this is giving you wings when you celebrate and you have other
Yeah.
people looking at your success and celebrating with you that you've achieved it, however big or small. This really, like, energetically gives you wings. You're like, I can do this. I can
It,
fly, I can
it
do the
gives you
next.
permission.
Yeah, permission plus also I believe another kind of energy. The permission is one thing which probably you have to give yourself first before you start creating. Also, this might also be in the connection point already, like giving yourself the permission to take this step. But also when others celebrate you and you celebrate yourself, it's really all the energy is coming towards you, right? And this like gets you up. That's what we should do, everybody with everybody all the time, especially artists like us, because we have all these pictures in our heads from the starving artist, or the dramatic ending and later he got successful or da 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 da, we have all these pictures in our heads. And so we forget about celebrating what we're doing because with every creation and every act of art, we bring a little more joy into the world, right? And we bring
That's
a little
true.
more, yeah, beauty also, right? So, and to celebrate that and to be conscious about how important it is to look at your achievements, to have others also look at you and celebrate you, this literally gives you wings. So,
Yeah, you're it's incredible because if you think about the artist and more also in the actors, I think about it because I'm an actor, but the
mhm,
competition, the competition, you have to be better, you have to be better, you have to be better. And in the end, why? You just have to be better than yourself yesterday because this
mhm,
competition if you haven't got the role, means it wasn't for you, or
Yeah.
you weren't
Right.
prepared, or someone
Mm-hmm.
was better than you, or he was right for the role. And just, okay, bravo to you to have got the role. But that's difficult, the jealousy and the envy. And yeah, how can you manage the delusion, the rejection, the envy? That's
Mm-hmm.
this bad sensation that we all experience one way
Mm-hmm.
or another.
I've suffered a lot, by the way, because I got many people being envious at me, and I always felt like, oh no, not I didn't only feel like that, but people stabbed the knife into my back sometimes. So it has been tough. And I've been really, really disappointed as well because I was like, what did I do? What did I do to like not to deserve this? This would be like victimizing myself, right? But I was like, I don't really get it. Why aren't they happy for me? Why are they in such a bad energy that they want to like they prefer destroying me instead of celebrating me, right?
Yeah.
But over the years, so it has been hurting me very much over the years as well. And but there's two things probably I found out over the years. One thing is, of course, we always mirror other people, meaning like, so when we do something and they have the littlest desire of doing something similar to you and they don't, they get envious, but it's inside of them because you remind them of a higher version of themselves, which they are not able or not willing to go. So that's one thing, right? So I understood like, okay, I'm just a mirror for them mostly, that's one thing. And the other thing is why you were saying this, to celebrate yourself, at least you got on stage, you went into the competition. Plus, what I really found out when things don't work out at one place, there's something better for you at another place. And sometimes, of course, in that moment, it doesn't feel like it, right? You're like, oh,
Yes.
man,
Mm.
like, yeah. But if you really, because I really have faith in these things, that even if we can't see it at that very moment, but there might be something else waiting for you, which is like exactly like perfectly for you, the perfect role, where you will
Yeah.
excel in a totally different version, or the director is a different person, so he will give you wings in another way, things like that. So it must not only be the role itself or the typical form you believe, but there might be other things
Sure.
why something else is better for you, and really believe that that's what's meant for you will come and what's not meant for you will fall away. Although it
Yeah.
might feel tough sometimes.
Yeah, that's difficult in the moment to be like, okay, that didn't
Hmm.
work out, so I'm a failure. No,
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
it
I know.
wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. But it's
Hmm.
difficult to think about that. But yeah, it's great your method of working. I think everyone should apply it, and in the everyday life they should
Hmm.
apply it, because that's great. Because you're right about the artist, the starving artist, the suffering artist. No, we just can be in a happy place and good in our head, and be an artist who
Yeah.
thrive and share with the world.
Yeah, true. Plus, also, I believe like being artistic and being creative goes much further than in this moment, for example, living the role, right? Or writing the book or whatever it might be. But it's also your life, the whole life. I believe when we're artists, we want to create everywhere. And I believe that was one of my deepest pains when I was smaller, that I felt like I wasn't allowed, as you were talking about permission, right? I wasn't allowed to be so creative. I wasn't allowed to create my life like however I wanted to. This is about being like a real creator, like in the deepest of your heart and of your being. And society mostly doesn't want you to, because there are firm structures, right? And there are firm ideas of how you are supposed to comply. So, and for me, it was so painful for a long time, um, believing or not giving myself permission to really create the life I was dreaming about. But I believe an artist, like for us, everything's art, right? Everything's creation. I can't hold back. Like even when I do when I decorate the living room, or when I dress myself, or when I talk to somebody. This is like the tiniest things, but it's all art. And also how we create our lives, right? And that's where it gets like really existential. Like, how do you want to live your life? And then maybe if you have the bigger picture, a failure in this moment, for example, coming back to you didn't get the role, but somebody else. But then you start, and this is where my method comes in, right? You start connecting again. And you're like, wait a minute. Okay, that would have been nice, but I have a bigger vision of where
Hmm.
I want to be, of how I want my life to be. What step can I take next? What can I create next to give like my whole life and myself the permission to really create everything? And then everything's art, right?
Wow, wow. That brings me to my next question. So
Uh-huh.
you went perfectly there, perfectly there.
Really good
So
connection here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I got that. I got that. So what is
hmm
art for you? What's your definition of art? Or more first of art and then an artist.
Okay. Um, I kind of have my problems with talking about definitions because for me it's mostly it starts with a feeling. So I really start inside myself before I get into my head, right? So for me, art is pure beauty. It's really like the beauty of I feel the same as if I, for example, look at the ocean, which I love so much, or when I look at these wonderful trees out here, there's these palm trees. And there's a little light coming, like the sunlight,
Mm,
which has a beautiful light here in Los Angeles, right? And then it go like you can see it shimmering on the green palm tree leaves. And this is for me, that's beauty, right? This is like where you're like, oh, who could have thought of making this beautiful combination of colors
yeah,
and of texture and of everything? So that's art for me. That's how it feels like when I see a true art, like a real true self-expression of somebody. For me, it's pure beauty. And this is also, and then next step, it inspires me to see more
yeah,
beauty, to look for more beauty. So art is beauty.
yeah,
hmm
yeah. And an artist. So art is that. So an artist. What is it for you?
Somebody who creates beauty, I would say,
Wow.
in every step on the way and in every parts of their lives. That's a true artist. Because I believe what comes through us, what we're inspired to do, it's always beautiful. And sometimes it might even not be the typical sense why we're talking about definitions, right? It
Mm-hmm.
might not be the typical sense of, oh, I define beauty as it has to look this way, and it has to be perfect and it has to be smoothed out and everything. But the beauty of, oh, this is like touching me in the deepest of my heart. There's something, I get goose skin when I see it. There's something happening with me, this kind of beauty. So an artist is somebody who creates that feeling inside of me and
Wow.
inside of everybody else.
Yeah. Great. Great. Great answer. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So, what's talent has to do with all of that for you? Because as artists, we are a lot speaking about talent. What is talent?
hmm
Do you need to have talent, or do you need to work? So, what's your vision of this?
So I start with everybody's born unique, meaning like everybody brings their own sets of, let's call it talent and potential. And that's what makes the world beautiful and diverse and interesting, right? That everybody brings something else and has their own way of expressing themselves. And talent is for me the way you can express yourself the most easily and the most honest also,
Mm,
because it's like talent is for me about like, or let's say art is about expressing yourself, right? So and everybody finds their own way how to express what they feel, right? So there's this artist like this, or for example the actor, which has the capability, and this would be talent for me, to go out and connect with the people,
mm,
and they would feel it. They would feel what he feels in that moment. He would transmit that, right?
yeah.
So, and then there's a writer who has a capability to put all this into writing and find the perfect words to make you feel the same thing in the end, but in a different way. So this
Yeah.
would be talent for me. Plus, of course, you were asking about like, do you have talent or do you have to work on it? So what I believe you can always, how would I say that? Like forge your talent, meaning like you can
Wow.
always grow, right? So for example, that happens to me. Like I'm good on stage. I know that. I started with that when I was little. My father was a pastor. So he set me like on the stage. It was in church, but like from the beginning of my being. So I'm super comfortable being on stage and talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
But so I have this talent, right? But there's also next steps. So for example, I find what do like I put myself, for example, into a room of people who are really great speakers, or into a room of actors, for example, because they know how to transmit, right? So,
Yes.
and I'm not an actress, but then I see how they do it and I explore how they do it. And then I'm like,
Mm.
oh, this is so good. I want to learn this too. I want to take the next step for myself too. And this is how I grow and forge my own talent, right? So I follow, my lead is like the joy or the curiosity of seeing
Mm.
somebody who's like more advanced. I wouldn't say better, but more advanced in doing
Yes.
that, what I want to
In
do.
in that case, but not in general, but just in that
Yeah,
specific art or skill.
yeah, exactly. And this is how I feel how we can still grow, although we might be super talented, but there's always more, always evolution, right?
Mm.
So this is what I wouldn't call it work because it sometimes feels like it's more from the head. And what I mean is following the curiosity of this person knows how to do it. So how does he do it? I want to
Huh.
find out, it's like,
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, but not everyone can think like you. Like, how can I do it? I am curious to do it. But that should be the mentality. Like, okay,
hmm
is there? I want to be there. So how can I do
hmm
it? How can I follow the lead of someone who was before me and
hmm
make this possible? So that brings me to my next question. To arrive in your journey and in your life, did you have a mentor or someone who inspired you, and maybe someone you know, or maybe some I don't know, some like author or personality that inspire you to bring this journey to where you are right now?
Um, let's say some part of me always wanted a mentor, but at the same time, I know I always do what I feel is on right now, so it's kind of difficult because I always knew like I couldn't just follow the lead in the typical sense, meaning like just listening to them and then doing it, because I might be too much rebellious or I might be too much like connected with my inner voice to really being able to do that. But what I did is I really looked out for people who had already achieved where I wanted to go in a good way, and like it really didn't matter if I knew them. So it might have been like, I don't remember names right now, but it might have been like a famous actor or it might have been a famous writer where they touched me with their art, you know?
Yes.
Um, and talking about more specific things, for example, I was talking like thinking about how could I build the publishing house, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like really down to earth things. So I got in touch with people asking them, how can I do it? Can you help me to create a good structure? Can you help me do that? So I asked people, but it wasn't always like one person, but I always looked at specific things in my life where I wanted to progress. And then I asked people about it. So it hasn't been like this one person who's always been
Yeah.
there or like for the last 10 years or something, but
Mm-hmm.
people who were where I wanted to go. And I was like, oh, I like that. I felt like this pull to go there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then sometimes I even called them up or I got in touch with them. So I did it on my own then, but I was like, okay, can I get to know you? Would you have an hour to talk? Something like that, to participate in their knowledge and in their wisdom, so to say.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, did they say most yes or most no? The people you
Um,
contacted.
Some said yes, most said no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Because in the end, well, at those moments, sometimes I was disappointed. And in the end, I believe they knew I could do it by myself and that I was just
Mm.
trying to find out. And because I believe a good mentor really lets you do it by yourself and lets you explore by yourself and lets you grow by yourself. And they give you at the precise moment you need it. They give you inspiration or they give you feedback or they give you like the next tiny bit you need
Yeah,
to
the
evolve,
little
right?
push.
Yeah, exactly. The little push, but they don't do it continuously because
Hmm.
they believe in you and they see that you can do it. So it might not, the ones who said no, it might not have been like always this way, like sometimes maybe they just didn't care or I wasn't important enough to get in touch with, Of course, if they have
Yes,
other things to do, I totally get that. I'm not their number one person they need to get in touch with right now or they need to
sure.
answer right now, right? Um, but the people I was really in touch with, they held back at many points because I believed I should do it myself. And
Mm.
if I'm really honest, this is how I am, right? I'm the one who wants to go further and I want to get my own motivation to get going.
Yeah,
And I do need a push sometimes too, like somebody who said, like, go on, man, do it.
yeah,
This is good for me. But in general, I believe the best mentors, they just see you and they see your potential and they see what you can do. They might be more quiet than you like them to,
hmm.
but it's because they believe in you and they let you know that they believe in you.
Like they show you the way, but you have to do the walk.
Yeah, exactly. That's, for example, I love working with David Strasberg, right?
Yeah,
Because he looks at you and you're on stage and doing something and he just says this tiny little inspiration to you, right? Just like put yourself in another state or remember this or have you felt like da da da, whatever. Just one tiny little thing. But then you have to do it, right? Then
yeah.
you have to feel that, you have to take the step, and then you see the success out of it. Those people are the best for me who see you and they really see what's possible. They just give you this tiny little push or inspiration, whatever
The
you need
little
at that time.
nudge that yeah, you have to do the lifting, but then you're more satisfied because you did the work, and you're
Yeah,
satisfied because you did the work, and no one chewed the meat for you.
yeah, exactly. And that makes you grow inside, right? Then you get more confident as well.
Mm,
And then you feel more capable of doing other things too, right? Because if somebody else does it for you, it's like you don't grow inside. And then you might doubt yourself more than you would need to.
yeah, it begins a virtuous circle, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's a really good talk. I'm really happy to have this talk right now because
Me
it's
too. I'm
motivating.
enjoying.
It's motivating. So my next question that I ask all of my guests:
Hmm.
what would you say to your younger self, to the younger Cornelia, if you met her in the street, like when she began this journey? What would
Hmm.
you say to her if you were like in the street and you saw the younger Cornelia? What would you say to
Hmm.
her with the knowing
First thing
of all your
of
life
today,
right now?
I would probably say don't be so hard on yourself and giving myself a hug, probably, because that's what I would have needed, right? I had the power to do everything and I had the qualifications and the, inner possibilities to do everything. So many people put me like on a pedestal and were like, oh, you're so great, da 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 da, or they hated me, whatever, like both sides. But somebody who was like loving and caring and saying, like, hey, it will all work out. Take your time, start believing in yourself. Also, that's a tough one, like, start loving yourself. Don't always believe growth is necessary because I was always like, okay, let's do it, and da 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 da, you know. But getting back to you're okay as you are, And then you can start growing because it's another feeling, right? When you love yourself and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm okay the way I am right now. And you notice it really touches me because that has been a tough journey, you know? So, but then really finding out I'm okay like I am right now. And I would have told her, right? You are okay as you are.
Yeah.
And then you can grow from there with much more peace and ease. And also from that comes more creativity as well, right? Because you're not
Yeah.
always in a rush to prove somebody
Yeah.
something, you know, but you're like, you can finally relax and breathe out.
Yeah, you're totally agree with you because yeah, that's one of the reason I create this podcast in the first place because first I wrote some articles were letters to my younger self,
Mm,
and that wasn't enough for me, and then I know that writing wasn't my best thing, so I said,
hmm
okay, what can I do? Okay, I can talk and I can film and everything. So I said, okay, I I want to launch something that my younger self back in the day when I started would have
hmm
watched and learned and like, yeah, you're okay and everything is gonna be fine, but just, yeah, be easy on yourself, and there are things to learn, and you just have to live and
hmm
learn.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that you're doing that because it's beautiful, you know, like getting all these conversations and sharing it with the people. And by that, as you said, you know, there's so many people who are like our younger selves and who definitely gonna be relaxed right now when they listen to you, or they're gonna be like, I'm okay, I can go on from here,
Yeah.
you know, plus
e-
learning so much on the way.
exactly, and that's why it's an important question for me, and that I asked to my guest because, yeah, we usually do the things we do because of our journey
Hmm
back in the days, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, and so it's not the whole truth, right? So it's like our story, which makes us, or our education, everything which makes us do certain things instead of really following what wants to be created, like truly created by
Yeah.
us, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a big one for me, yes. So is there my next question is there a dream that you're still chase?
Well,
Or
I stopped
dreams that
chasing.
can be multiples.
Yeah. So, well, first thing I stopped chasing, I believe, because I found out when I chase my dreams, it doesn't really work out so well. I mean, I get them. I am able to get them, but then I'm mostly exhausted and can't really enjoy. So I started like putting this a little different. It's like which dream inspires me right
Oh yeah.
now. So, and makes me feel alive, you know, because I follow the aliveness and the joy in it. So, and I have one dream, which is like, I really want to have a home here in LA because right now I'm still visiting, going back and forth. But this is the first winter I allowed myself to really be here and enjoy
Mm,
it and follow this instinct because I've always been here like so many years already in a row, but I never allowed myself to stay for a longer time and really feel like settling and getting to know everything. So I'm doing that right now. And one dream would be like being able to really settle here.
mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. And the other thing, I have I have a book I'm gonna publish soon, and this book is so dear to my heart because the message is so important. So my dream is also to get out with that and to reach many people and touch many people's hearts and
Yeah.
really make a difference in this world, you know, like make them feel seen and loved and heard and tell them you're okay. And also with kids, you know, because the book is like for teenage kids, so it's young adults,
Oh,
as I
okay.
call it, but it's like to be read with the whole family because it's important life questions about creations and loss and joy and you know where you go in life. So and I'm like, I have so much to say, you know, and so much to share. And this is my dream to have the possibilities. Maybe until today, even the unknown possibilities which might show up, to share all of that and to touch as many people's hearts as possible.
Wow. Wow. That's perfect. Perfect. So, so I guess you just approached the next question. Have you news to share? Like, okay, there is this book and maybe some other things that you want to announce the world.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my book is coming out soon. I don't know the date yet. Probably it's going to be 22nd of February, but this is like about that time it's going to hit the US market, and I'm really looking forward to that. Plus, we are going to have a masterclass with David Strasberg in Berlin this summer in July. And I'm really looking forward to that. We're just in the finalizing the planning and the specific dates, but it's already confirmed that he's coming. And this is going to be so great to take him and to support to spread the method as well to Germany and hopefully soon to other countries as well. We are going, like a colleague, she's taking it to I believe Bulgaria and other countries too. So this is so
Awesome.
great to help spread the things we believe in. So this is going to be in July.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. And this is the most important things right now.
Wow, wow. But I wish you everything that you hope for, and I know you're capable of creating it, so I have no worries at all about you. And last question. So where can we find your work, and where can we follow you? Maybe a website and other things.
I have been changing a lot my website, like contents and everything, so it's not finalized yet. So the easiest thing to do is like get connected on Instagram. Maybe you can put it in the comments later.
Yeah,
I'm
I will
gonna
put it
send
in
it.
the
Uh-huh.
description. Yeah.
Yeah. And Facebook also, and LinkedIn, like the typical ones, because I always share on those. Yeah. And that's the easiest and most direct way to connect right now.
Okay, okay, perfect. Thank you, Cornelia. It was a great talk, and I really enjoyed it because you put so much positivity, optimism into this word that it needs to be shared with the whole world. And yeah, I hope a lot of people will see this interview because they need to hear it. They need to hear this gospel.
And I thank you so much, my dear, for inviting me today, for helping me spread it, for these beautiful questions, and for our wonderful connection. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's beautiful. And let's see where it takes us from here.
perfect. Thank you, Cornelia. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Thank you.